Welcome everyone tonight. Welcome to members of the public in the gallery and welcome to everyone online. We also have Councillor Cope joining us online tonight. Hi, Councillor Cope.
Good evening.
Members of the public are advised the meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the live stream recording will be made publicly available on YouTube and Council's website. Nillumbik Shire Council respectfully acknowledges and recognises the Wurundjeri Wurrung as the traditional owner of the land on which Nillumbik is located. We pay tribute to all First Peoples living in the Nillumbik Shire, give respect to elders past, present and emerging, and extend our respect to all First Peoples. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Councillor McKay, would you like to do the Good Governance Pledge?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mayor. As councillors, we are mindful of our civic responsibilities and obligations. We pledge to take them seriously and to carry them out with diligence and integrity. We know the decisions we take will affect the people and environment of Nillumbik now and in the future. We undertake, therefore, to make sound and principled decisions of lasting value in a spirit of fairness and for the good of all. We also pledge to serve the needs and well-being of the community and the environment in an open and honest manner and to the best of our abilities.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. We have an apology for the prayer tonight, and there's no apologies of councillors, only Councillor Cope online. Are there any declarations of a conflict of interest from anybody? No. We'll move on to presentations and the 2026-2027 Nillumbik Community Fund outcomes and funding allocations. I'd like to commence tonight by providing a brief overview of the Nillumbik Community Fund program for 2026-2027. The Nillumbik Community Fund offers grants of up to $5,000 from a total funding pool of $124,530 to support a wide range of community initiatives that respond to local needs and advance the objectives of both the Council Plan 2025 to 2029 and the Health and Wellbeing Plan 2025 to 2029. Community groups, organisations, clubs and artists who live, work, study, volunteer or participate in Nillumbik were invited to apply for funding for projects, activities and events to be delivered between the 1st of July 2026 and the 30th of June 2027. This year we received a total of 56 grant applications seeking $179,545 in funding. This represents a 47% increase on the previous year's applications, highlighting the strong level of community interest and the growing demand for support through this program. Following assessment, 29 applications have been selected for full funding across the Shire. I'd like to acknowledge the successful applicants. Congratulations to the 2nd Altham Sea Scouts, allocated $4,290. Allwood Neighbourhood House, for their project of Have a Go Hursty 2.0, $5,000. Arthurs Creek Primary School, their project was their 150th anniversary celebration and they received $5,000. Bendival's Conservation Association, for their project of 50 years of environmental living, $4,407. Diamond Creek Traders Association, for the project of Diamond Creek Car Fest 2026, $5,000. Edible Hub Hurstbridge Community Hub Garden, their project was Kids Activities in the Community Garden, $1,350. Altham Chamber of Commerce, their Winter Arts Night Light Installation Festival, $5,000. Altham High School Centenary Exhibition, $4,122. Altham Junior Football Club Girls Footy Celebration Day, $5,000. Altham South Preschool, their project was 60th birthday celebrations for $5,000. Hurstbridge Learning Co-op Primary School, their project was Walking with Country, Learning Cooperative, Bushland Path and Cultural Signage Project, $5,000. Reimagine Re-Evolution, flipping the lid, levelling up on plastics, $4,420. James Phelan from Montsalvat. The project was Nillumbik Writers Festival of $5,000. Link, which is Love in the Name of Christ. Link Altham Emergency Food Support, $3,000. Mange Management, treating wombats with mange in Nillumbik, $5,000. Montsalvat, their Festival of Fire and Clay, $4,800. Nicole Wallace from Montsalvat, Opera Under the Stars at Montsalvat, $5,000. Nillumbik Mud Brick Association, 50 years celebratory mud brick workshop and tour, $4,450. Congratulations. Nillumbik Repair Cafe, Lost Skills Workshops and Tinker Table, $1,579. Nillumbik SES, Land-Based Swiftwater Rescue Safety Equipment, $2,927. North Warrandyte Osborne Peninsula Land Care Group. Their project was Connecting Community Through Nature, Education and Engagement Program, $4,690. Operation New Start Nillumbik was their project, $5,000. Plenty Historical Society, their project was Sharing the Story, $2,239. Rebecca Landy Creates, Books Alive by No Big Dramas, $5,000. Rotary Club of Diamond Creek, their community lunch, $5,000. Rotary Club of Altham, Rotary Altham Art Show, $5,000. St John's Anglican Church Drop-In Food Pantry, $3,050. The Social Education Group, Pack and Give Back, Nillumbik Schools Project, $3,772. Wattle Glen CFA, Wattle Glen Emergency Street Numbering, $4,184. So congratulations, everybody, on those grants.
Excuse me, Chair, could I just note on one of those slides, I think it might have been the first slide, there was an error. The second Eltham Sea Scouts that are actually in Edendale Ward, and I'm looking forward to going out and throwing some hatchets very soon.
Excellent. I'll move on to the King's Birthday Honours 2026. It was great, yet again, to see members of our community being recognised for their achievements in the recent King's Birthday 2026 Honours list. And tonight, I would like to acknowledge them and their achievements. Emeritus Professor Kay Stacey was appointed as a member of the Order of Australia, AM, in the General Division for significant service to tertiary and secondary education and to mathematics. The late Mr Ray Wilton was awarded the Medal of the Order of Australia, OAM, in the General Division for service to the community of Melbourne. And Fiona Macken was awarded the Australian Fire Service Medal for distinguished service as a member of an Australian Fire Service. I would like to commend all recipients for their dedication, service and achievement of excellence in their field. They embody the Nillumbik ethos of service, diligence, commitment and above all, serving the broader community. Congratulations. Councillor Perkins, can I pass to you for a few awards, please?
So this first one's an award received by officers in the last couple of weeks, and it's the 2026 Pro Positive Ageing and Wellbeing Award, Together Through Loss. So Nillumbik Shire Council and the Ageing Well team, Together Through Loss program, was announced as the winner of the LG Pro Positive Ageing and Wellbeing Award 2026 on Wednesday the 17th of June for outstanding program or project, non-grant based. The program was established in 2024 by the Ageing Well team in partnership with United Minds. That's the community mental health service. And that was in response to a simple but deeply important reality. As people age, they are more likely to experience loss, and with that can come loneliness, isolation and grief. Together Through Loss was designed to offer more than just support. It offers connection, understanding and a space where people can feel seen and heard. The program is led by a psychologist over 6 weeks. It brings together a group of older people to share their experiences, build relationships, and develop strategies to navigate grief and rebuild a sense of well-being with others who understand their journey. The program has had an extraordinary impact, with participants stating they feel less alone, they're more supported, and better equipped to manage their emotions. Perhaps more importantly, many have continued meeting independently long after the program has ended, and it's created lasting peer networks and ongoing connection. The team recently completed the third round of the program and continue to create positive outcomes for older people experiencing loss in Nillumbik. So well done to the Positive Ageing and Wellbeing team. Thank you. The next one I've got a sporting and cultural achievement grant. Now, I advertised this briefly on Facebook, and a lot of people across the community in Diamond Creek very, very excited for Flynn, and well done, Flynn Agus, who's receiving a $200 award for being selected to represent Australia at the BMX World Championships in Queensland. Now, I understand Flynn's a bit shy and doesn't want to come up. Oh, I'll come up then. Yeah, come up. And we'll hand this over. Well done, Flynn. Oh, okay. I've got a few things to say first, if that's all right. I'll stay there. So I'm just going to read out some of your achievements, Flynn. So Flynn secured his place in the Australian team after competing at the National Championships in Shepparton in April of this year. He will now travel to Brisbane in July to compete against the world's best riders, a fantastic achievement for a 9-year-old. His recent achievements have included the 2025 Victorian State Series overall winner. The 2025 State Championships, he came 4th place. The 2025 Track Attack Series Open National, he was 2nd placed. The 2025 National Championships, 13th place. The 2026 National Championships, 13th place. The 2026 World Championships qualifier, and he's been selected for the Australian team. So this selection highlights Flynn's dedication, hard work and exceptional talent in BMX racing at such a young age. We congratulate you, Flynn, on this achievement and wish you every success for the competition and your future sporting pursuits. Well done.
Thank you, Peter. I'll try my best.
And from the parents' point of view, thank you very much. Every little bit helps. So it's not without its costs going all the way to. Well, we're lucky this year it's in Queensland, but with it getting him all the way there, he's in his nice outfit and he's ready and raring to go. So thank you very much to the council as well. Thank you.
Good on you, Flynn. We've got a BMX track coming soon to your area.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8, the confirmation of minutes. Can I have a mover for this motion, please?
Thank you. I'll move that, Mayor, as per the papers.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. And a seconder? And a seconder for this motion, Councillor Demerick, thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I reserve my right.
Okay, Councillor Demerick.
No, thank you. I'm happy for the minutes to go through unchanged.
Excellent. Can I put the motion to a vote, please? All in favour? That's carried unanimously. We've got no petitions tonight and no questions from the gallery. Item 11 is reports of advisory committees. Do I have a mover for the motion, please?
May I, please?
Councillor Cope.
May I make the motion and recommendation that the council notes the minutes of the advisory committee meetings per the attachments.
Thank you. A seconder for that?
Thank you. I will second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Cope, would you like to speak?
Only that I've chaired the latest ACAC meeting of the Arts and the Cultural Achievements Advisory Committee, and it was an excellent meeting with our new members, and that I'm pleased to make the recommendation that the minutes were accepted, and also for the other ancillary advisory meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion to a vote. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to item 12, officer reports. And the first item up is the adoption of budget 2026-2027, declaration of rates and charges and council plan, annual action plan 2026 to 2027. Can I have a councillor move the motion, please? Councillor Brooker? Is it as per the papers?
As per the papers.
Thank you.
As per the papers.
Thank you. And a seconder for that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Demare. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. This is, for many, the most significant evening for residents. We are adopting the budget for 26-27. It does include a 2.75% rate increase. When we put this out for consultation in March, I went through some of the CapEx relating to Blue Lake Ward. I won't be doing that again on this occasion, but if any Blue Lake residents would like an update on that, they can give me a call or send me an email. I just want some comments around the presentation of the budget, and in particular user fees. The major component of user fees was the revenue generated from the 5 Nillumbik leisure centres, all managed by Aligned Leisure. Those user fees were shown in the budget under the title, but this is the last of user fees, but this is the last budget that will be happening. The revenue costs of the leisure centres are being removed. Residents will be able to find them in the annual report, but not in the financial year budget documents. That means there is a $14 million odd reduction in revenues and a corresponding 14 odd million reduction in contract payments to our leisure centre managers, Aligned Leisure. The contract has a revenue share component, and I make the point that from all of these memberships, user fees, entrance fees, Nillumbik is left with net revenue of $275,000. Now, that will be reported in the annual report, so there will be some transparency around what is happening there. Is that a reasonable number, I think, is a question you can ask. It's probably in net replacement terms, in terms of the assets we've got involved there, I think something like $250 million worth of assets. So 275,000 is, you can make your own determination if that is a good return. The real reason, though, for the change is that it enhances comparability across councils. That supports some benchmarking, and it gives a more accurate picture of our revenues. I have to say, I never liked the term user fees. I don't think that was an accurate description of what was taking place. But now that's not of concern because it's been removed altogether. I have to say I don't necessarily agree that it's a more transparent way of itemising these revenue outlays, but that is where we have landed. And certainly for financial ratios points of view, having that revenue that wasn't related to rates or waste service charges will then, I think, provide a more accurate comparable figure with other councils, because not all treat user fees in the same way. I do want to point out the renewal gap, which is a ratio. Often it's a criticism of councils not renewing their assets at the level they are depreciating. Well, that is not the case in 25-26 and 26-27, 136% and 115% respectively. So some over-renewal in these next couple of years, and the budget papers I've got some other figures for the years after that. Financial indicators are all positive or neutral, and you can refer to those on page 56. The budget has gone through 2 rounds of consultation, prompted by some material changes that occurred after the draft was released. And they were $2 million in additional borrowings for Kangaroo Ground landfill that we have spoken about previously, that was moving forward some costs to get the project completed earlier than what was anticipated. And we also have a provision of $3 million in the event of, I think, geopolitical shocks. You can read, the Iran war for that, if that is going to have a material impact on council outlays and the various CapEx projects it has. The point about that is that needs a resolution to come back to council. So all in all, there's, I think, $6.25 million of borrowings, including that $3 million provision. I would say the extra time for consultation didn't generate any kind of feedback on those specific issues, and I think that speaks to just how we generally do the budget consultation, and I think the task is to come up with some innovative ways to do it, to get some more engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Councillor Demerick, would you like to speak?
I'll work out how to work this in a minute. Apologies. Just a few things I'd like to just touch on. This is a piece of work that goes across the whole of the Shire, the whole of the organisation and the community. So we've had a lot of feedback from the community. I'd particularly like to thank Wayne Kinraid and Don Vincent for their work on the budget, just making sure that we're crossing our I's and dotting our T's. Their presentations showed up with great insight during both of the community, I've forgotten what the word is, community presentations, and we thank them for their work. Again, the officers have done great work, and just to pick out some of the highlights, as Councillor Brooker has mentioned, there's some great work being done to look at our greenweed management plan, our biodiversity strategy, our climate action plan, particularly with the Eltham Leisure Centre, full electrification, which saves us a lot of gas and a lot of those nasty black balloons. Our tree canopy strategy, which has been top of mind for a lot of people, and we are actually increasing our tree canopy despite thoughts to the opposite. We're also continuing to work on our neighbourhood character and housing strategies, which again is particularly important given some of the changes that are happening to building codes and planning codes, and we need to be able to have something to point to, and that is very defendable. The budget is also is an exercise in frugality. We are seeing a lot of cost shifting happening towards local government. Estimates are of around $12 million in very recent times, and that has to come from somewhere. So officers and councillors worked hard to find those savings, and will continue to do so. From the point of view of being the chair of the Trails Committee, I'm very happy to see the Maroondah trail between Plenty River and the Allendale Road back on the agenda, and looking at that. We're also a good partnership coming up where we'll be working closely with Yarra Valley Water, and we'll see one of their officers embedded in the organisation to look at our flood mapping and also work on our integrated water management strategy. And again, I echo Councillor Brooker's remarks that it's great to see our asset renewal back where we are catching up. I don't know that we're a long way behind, but this is really good to see because it's all right building things, but we need to keep them in good nick and to make sure that we. Sorry, I'm going over time here. And again, the $2 million to see the Kangaroo Ground tip ahead of budget, and the provisions for geopolitical instability of $3 million is sound.
Thank you, Councillor Demarick. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Joy.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, I need to change my glasses so I can see my notes. We've received, in the first round of consultation on this budget, 15 submissions, and in the second round of consultation where we made a few changes, another 5 submissions. I think a couple of them may have been the same people. And also like to thank Don and friends for their submission. Some of the feedback on that we've received through the submissions has been on the level of detail and transparency in some areas. I agree with this, and I note that it was one of the reasons that I did not support the budget last year. However, improvements have been made. There's still a way to go, I acknowledge that, and I do look forward to continuous improvement in this space. Just a few notes on the budget itself. So the rate cap is always a controversial item and creates various challenges. So councils are operating under the Fair Go rate system. We have a rate cap of 2.75% that is set by state government ministers. I'll leave you to decide if this is a good thing or not. But the challenge is that while our revenue is capped, our costs are not, and they are rising faster than that cap. So in this budget preparation, we've had a strong focus on identifying efficiencies and cost savings while trying to minimise the impact on essential services for our community, that our community is receiving. That was definitely a focus of mine through all of the planning discussions, is I didn't want to see a substantial reduction to services. But it is becoming increasingly difficult balance to maintain. Also on rates, we have made a tweak to our differential rates, and I've previously spoken to this, so just to quickly flag my support in particular for the reduction of rates for those undertaking sustainable agricultural practices and those properties identified as trust for nature land. I was going to say a few words about borrowings, but I will move on because I'm running out of time, and I really wanted to highlight some of the capital works. Our capital works budget is over 18 million, and over 4 million of that is grants. Some relatively minor projects that are worth a mention: the Eltham North Dog Park Shelter. This is under the Public Open Space Infrastructure and Renewal Upgrades section, $20,000 for the shelter, and also some assistance from Rotary for a chair. So this came from strong community advocacy. We've got some benefits in Edendale for safer local roads and streets programs, especially on Parry Road, which I know some neighbours are very happy about. And an investigation into the design and possibility of a footpath on Old Diamond Creek Road of $30,000. I'm wrapping up. Edendale Farm fencing replacement program, another $50,000. So anyone who's been on the trail lately will love the look of the new fences around the farm. And also $40,000 in renewal and upgrade for the trails. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Joy. Any other councillors like to speak?
I will, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to focus what I have to say on a major challenge we have here in Illumbik and other councils, which is cost shifting. So cost shifting remains a significant and growing pressure on this council, and our latest analysis done by our officers here estimate a net impact of over $12 million. And this reflects an ongoing transfer of responsibilities from other levels of government without sufficient or sustainable funding. And in practical terms, this is evident across a wide range of essential community services. This includes libraries, where state government has not kept pace with rising costs and declined over time, with council contributing now $3.3 million. This is waste management reforms such as FOGO services and increasing landfill levies, which impose additional costs without direct corresponding benefit to community, and demand-driven services such as maternal, child and health, early years programs, statutory planning and emergency management. These are not optional services, they are mandated community critical functions that council must deliver. But in a rate-capped environment, the cost of these unfunded obligations is largely borne by the council. And when I say the council, I mean all of our residents. And this places sustained pressure on our financial position and limiting our ability to invest in local priorities, infrastructure and future community needs. So we, the council, which is a collective of using the collective funds of our residents, are under this financial stress as they are also in their homes. And it's, I think, you know, when you're a ratepayer, the cost of living's high, your council rates are high, and all of a sudden we're having, you know, we're compelled to have to provide these services we didn't used to budget for. And, you know, when you take with one hand, you're losing. So that's my major issue currently. But thank you for all the hard work that's gone into the budget. And I just would reflect what Kelly said. Thank you to our submitters. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Mackay. Any other councillors like to speak? No? Okay. I'll just take a moment to thank our new Chief Financial Officer, Belent. Thank you for all your hard work and your team's hard work on this budget. I think it's strong and I think it's a good budget. We are maintaining services while investing nearly $19 million in capital works. Importantly, we are operating within the rate cap while still progressing key infrastructure and community projects. I believe the tree canopy investment is an important environmental gain in this year's budget, $220,000 in real funding to make it happen and $250,000 in proactive maintenance to help stop the disintegration of our established trees. It represents a shift from strategy to funded implementation, which is an important step forward and one that I don't feel Nillumbik Shire Council has been making over an extended period of time. So it's great that this councillor group has felt that it's important and made it happen with what little money we have. My personal favourites were the forest, apart from the tree canopy investments, the forest health monitoring 50 grand, Friends of Groups 95 grand, Hurstbridge Cricket Net design 80 grand, Orwood House support 20 grand. So I'm very happy to see them in there. So I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll move on to the next item, which is Audit and Risk Committee report. Can I have a councillor move the motion, please?
Thank you. I'll move that as per the papers, please, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Brooker. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, a productive meeting last month. Thank you for all the members. I'm finding it more and more insightful every time I attend. So, you know, look, the minutes are there for your perusal. I just thought I'd sort of update. We did a bit of, talked about scenario testing regarding options for cost savings as we feel the financial pressures of the result of the war with a lot of our trucks and heavy machinery. We did an audit of the environmental health and food and safety. We reviewed and discussed the strategic risk register, and just note that we're moving to a new model of risk register. And yes, more discussion about a risk register for emergency management. And they were the highlights. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak? Any other councillors like to speak? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to Risk and Safety Quarterly Report, March 2026. Can I have a councillor move the motion, please?
Thank you. I'm happy to move that also as per the papers.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Demaric. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
Yes, this is something that is also shown through Audit and Risk Committee. So this is our Risk and Safety Quarterly Report. And so this, just to summarise, this broadly reports on risk management, anti-fraud and corruption, insurance premiums, incident management, OH&S. The numbers are relatively, so all incidents relate to major classes of asset of maintenance type, including council buildings, rec facilities, playgrounds, trees, drainage, footpath and road damage. And we specifically discussed risks relating to trees and mitigating those through our various policies and programs, and also risks relating to road, footpath and drainage and how they are mitigated through the road management plan, road asset management plan, and our proactive and reactive maintenance programs. So to summarise, 20 incidents for property, 7 motor vehicle incidents for the quarter, 20 public liability incidents, and OH&S totaled 19. So are relatively stable. Obviously, we're wanting to drive these as low as possible, and we've got a risk team and everyone engaged in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Demaret.
Thank you, Mayor. The risk management is one of the key aspects of our CEO's role, and he is very diligent in this area. And in some ways, it's one of those things that is which if you're diligent in it, it can actually make your results worse. And we have seen an uptick in some of the areas, but it's because we have a culture of reporting and getting to the answers rather than chasing numbers. So I congratulate the organisation on this, and I think it's a great step forward. So we have seen a minor uptick. I particularly note that we're dealing with a lot of people, a lot of infrastructure, and a lot of community. And so when we do these things, accidents are going to happen, and you can never guess where they're going to come from or what they will be. And they make fascinating reading if you go back and look at how things happen. I would particularly like to note that our outdoor staff are out amongst the trees, operating heavy machinery and out in the community, and that they do account for a very large number of our incidents and injury claims. But again, I think that the work that our Derek Rotter as director and Heath Gillette as the manager of the operations centre are doing is particularly good, and the work that the OH&S committees within each of these organisations, each part of the organisation are doing is particularly good. So I just encourage them to keep up the good work, keep reporting it, and we'll keep trying to find ways to make your workplace safer and make sure everyone gets home. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Demaret. Any other councillors that like to speak? No. I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to the naming proposal for reserve in John Street, Eltham. Can I have a councillor move this motion, please?
I'd like to move that, Mayor.
Thank you. As per the papers?
As per the papers. Sorry.
Thank you. And then Councillor second?
Yes, I'll second that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Demaret, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. This is a piece of work that's been going on for years. It's been initiated by the community in the area around John Street, and I'd like to thank Barry Pearce for his work in making sure that this goes through, and Natalie Campion for her work helping, particularly with that work for these people. It's got fantastic support. We've had 79 respondents in favour of it out of 81 submissions. So really great support, and the two reasons given had nothing really to do with it being named Gordon Ford Reserve or the reserve as it is. Named after Gordon, he's an icon of Australian landscape architecture. and ahead of his time, and is influential Australia-wide, not just in in the local Eltham/Nillumbik area, but really has had an impact on landscape and how it's looked at Australia-wide. He was particularly bringing the natural habitat to where it meets non-Indigenous species or exotics, and it really gives it an Australian feel to it. Jim Connor spoke at length at a submission from the Eltham District Historical Society, making some great points in his presentation, and such as Gordon being a great conservationist, also as I said, a natural landscaping. He lived in this area since 1948 and has, really instrumental in gardens all around his area. There's still little pockets of people who got together, 30, 40 years ago to work as little groups to do their garden. Those things are still going on, and it's why people feel so closely aligned to it. Gordon's took inspiration from, they say we stand on the shoulders of giants, of Alice Stones and Edna Wallings, who have been significant in the history of the area, and even to the point where I was talking to a neighbour today, and he was saying he's got 30-year-old peppercorns which he's grown in his area, in his thing, because he'd been to Gordon Ford's place, saw how beautiful they looked, and as a 16-year-old he bought a block of land, planted the peppercorns, and then proceeded to build a mud brick house on it afterwards. He wasn't just local gardens and small gardens. He worked at Monash University, lots of industrial areas, and again, you can see his work mirrored all around the place and copied in other areas. Fantastic local examples are Alice Knox Park and the local cemetery. And a lot of people in the area got their start in their chosen profession by having worked with Gordon Ford. So this has community support. I think it has institutional support. I think groups like the Historical Society, etc., are in support. So I think I encourage all councillors to vote for this, and I think it will have great recognition for a person who has given a lot to this community and Australia in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McKay, would you like to speak?
Here. That's all.
Nice. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Brooker?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I think just in contrast to the budget, I think it was interesting. We received, I think, 400% more submissions on this project than we did on outlays of $100 million in the Shire of Nillumbik, and I make that somewhat. We somehow need to do better on the budget engagement. I would say I thank Eltham District Historical for the biographical and career highlights of Gordon Ford. I know, as John said, he lived in John Street since 1948, so the location and naming is highly relevant, and it is a lovely privilege to be able to recognise his contribution to the design of the natural bush environment that is synonymous with so many parts of Eltham and indeed of Nillumbik. I would also say, the natural landscape does personify what many residents and their connections with their own properties, and so elevating the Gordon Ford Reserve as the catalyst for that style of natural bush gardens. We've talked about that continuity, soft edges, blending it all in to a natural balance, I think has made a real contribution to how people relate to their own properties. And it was lovely to hear in the submissions that for decades after Gordon's passing, that his wife was meeting with residents in the street in seed banks and continuing that work and that legacy. So it's one of the easier votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Any other councillors like to speak? We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the Nillumbik Tree Protection and Management Policy. Can I have a councillor move the motion, please? Councillor Perkins?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that Council endorses the draft Nillumbik Tree Protection and Management Policy NT-PMP, Attachment 1 for community consultation and public exhibition in accordance with Council's Community Engagement Policy. Number 2, notes the public exhibition of the draft NT-PMP for a period of 28 days commencing the 1st of July 2026. Number 3, notes that any person who makes a written submission in relation to the draft NT-PMP and requests to be heard in support of their submission will be heard at the Planning and Consultation Committee meeting on the 11th of August. It's a Tuesday, 2026. And finally, number 4, receives a further report following the consultation process, considering community feedback and presenting the draft NT-PMP for final consideration at the council meeting on 29th of September 2026.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second the motion?
May I second the motion, please?
Councillor Cope. Councillor Perkins, would you like to speak?
Look, I'm very happy with the work that's been done here, and particularly when I shout out to the manager, Derek Rodder, to the author of the report, Heath Gillett. He's the manager of Operations Centre. Also our arborist, David Keep and Lockie Capel, who have done fantastic work here. I wasn't really planning to speak on this tonight, but the Mayor sort of said, you know, do you want to move this one, Peter? You've had a fair bit to say about trees in your ward. And it's like, okay, you want to hear it again? Here we go. So, you know, Nillumbik has always been seen to be the Green Wedge Shire, something that you know, values our environment immensely, has a lot of policies around it. And, you know, time and time again, I saw, for one reason or another, officers of council or contractors of council removing trees unnecessarily, how I believe to be unnecessarily. Often concrete, footpaths, curb and channel, anything was put in front of the value of a tree. You know, if a tree is seen as a tripping hazard because of its roots, the tree needs to be removed. If a tree breaks a piece of concrete, the tree needs to go. It's like the tree was very, very down on the list of priorities in terms of how I saw us managing our urban canopy, you know, in my ward anyway. And there was a few examples. I won't name the place because it'll identify the person involved. But you know, there's a request for council to remove a significant street tree in a local street. You know, that request was denied because they just didn't like the leaves, of course. Well, you know, within a few weeks that tree was poisoned, and within a few months that tree was dead. Council had to pay to remove that tree at the cost of multiple thousands. The tree's gone, the stump was removed, the tree was replaced by a caravan. You know, so that's the sort of thing that we see. You know, investigation was done, but you know, no, it was very hard to prove that there was a link between the poisoning of the tree and the arrival of the caravan on the nature strip. I suppose another one was Greg Street, where significant street trees, or there's significant street trees in this street. It's part of the amenity of the local area. Cracked concrete, tree disappeared. It's like, you know, I spoke to Heath Gill about this years ago, and he said, you know, we'll work on it, and he certainly did work on it. But there are other things that happened in the meantime. 24th of September 2004, caretaker period in council. Outside the Diamond Creek Primary School in Cowan Street, 4 significant street trees disappeared overnight. It was a caretaker period. There's nothing I could do about it. It was too late anyway. The trees were gone. But those trees were removed because, you know, in the next 6 or 12 months there was going to be a school crossing introduced, you know, which is fine, but I couldn't see how all of the trees in the whole street needed to go for a single school crossing and still don't. There were some replacement street trees put in the end, but they'll take another 40 or 50 years to grow back to where they were. So there was some 4 mature canopy trees in Cowan Street, Diamond Creek Outdoor Pool. Our own contractor ripped through the roots of a tree with excavating equipment, you know, within, you know, half a metre of the tree base, destroyed the tree. The tree had to be removed again. It costed many thousands, and a loss of amenity and the tree canopy just outside the Diamond Creek Outdoor Pool. You know, shocking outcome. We needed stronger protections. We needed stronger policy that says to these contractors that these trees have a monetary value. And there's a formula in this policy that sort of says, well, this is how we derive that value, and that tree I think was assessed at being worth $60,000. But because we didn't have a policy that puts a monetary value to the tree, we could make no claim against the contractor. So if the same contractor had ripped up a water main or a power main, they would have had to pay for that damage. But because it was just the street trees and the contractors don't value our trees in the area, we've got to have a policy like this that puts a monetary value on that infrastructure, and we see this infrastructure, you damage it, you're not going to get your bond back, sort of thing. So that's where we're going. More recently, in Mainhurst Ridge Road, the body corporate some years ago wanted to remove some trees outside the Diamond Creek Plaza. They applied to council because they needed a planning permit. They applied for a planning permit. They paid for the application fees. The planning permit was refused. Recently, in the last 6 months, a council officer noticed that these same trees were doing damage to the footpath. So wrote to the body corporate and said, you must remove these trees. They're doing damage to our footpath. So the body corporate come to me and say, this doesn't seem fair because we've already applied to have these trees removed, and council said no. So it's sort of trying to have this whole of government approach in Nillumbik Shire Council that says we protect trees. And it's not just the people around this table saying it. We need officers to say it. We need officers to implement it. And everyone needs to know that we value trees. And if anyone wants to destroy a tree in Nillumbik, it has to be the last case, last resort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Coate, would you like to speak?
Well, after that one, it was hard to compete.
Would any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Joy?
Thank you. Yes, very impassioned speech from Councillor Perkins. Well done. Just one of the points in this policy that I wanted to highlight very clearly, Councillor Perkins did touch on it, but this is my favourite part of the policy, is the tree amenity valuation. So just reading from the paragraph in the report, because it states it very well, the draft policy introduces a consistent tree amenity valuation method, ensuring the environmental, social and economic benefits of trees are properly recognised. I need to change my glasses. This strengthens council's ability to recover costs where trees are damaged or removed and supports appropriate replacement plantings. As a result, the financial burden of tree loss is less likely to fall on the community while helping maintain and enhance Nillumbik's valued landscape. I'm really looking forward to this being incorporated into contracts that we have with people, contractors undertaking operations throughout the Shire. So as Peter Perkins mentioned, Councillor Perkins mentioned, they will be held accountable if we have an instance, again, like we had at the Diamond Creek Pool. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Joy. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Brooker?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, we are releasing the policy for public comment. At Nillumbik, we have related plot policies, the urban tree canopy strategy and the biodiversity strategy. The strategy is to protect trees by in part introducing a mechanism to value public assets, trees, in a financial way. My thinking is if you can ascribe a financial value to an asset, in this case a tree, you are more likely to want to, one, retain it, as its loss carries a specific reduction of your assets, or two, manage it or maintain it to get the longest possible life out of that asset before you have to replace it, just like you would for any physical asset. So applying a financial lens helps your overall objective. It does not hinder it. If it is measured, you can manage it, and that is where the policy is trying to get to. All that said, I frequently, and the council frequently, have residents bringing to my attention potential safety hazards from trees, the work involved in cleaning up leaf litter and branches and associated tasks. And often as a councillor, you're challenged to apply a little common sense to the problem. And although I personally value all trees, it is that particular tree that needs to be removed. And here's the thing, all of those things, all of those points can be true. However, I think if you can apply an amenity value to the tree, it will serve you well in those kinds of conversations. I would also expect to see some submissions on potential conflicts with bushfire preparedness and how the policy may conflict not just with defendable space, but also emergency access and, for that matter, evacuation considerations. Also, I would expect some discussion around such a policy protects self-seeded or regrowth trees, weeds, pine trees in that mix. So the protection is regardless of environmental value. But let's see where the divergent arguments play out through the consultation process, because what we have, the intention is to find the best balance between what at times can be some very some legitimate competing interests. I would make the point that this just underscores the importance of a proper engagement process. There's all sorts of subtleties in play here. Reactive inspections, roadsides, vehicle crossovers, and so on. We have talked tonight about Gordon Ford and his devotion to natural and native gardens. If you pose the question, what is unique, what is different, what is valuable about living in Nillumbik, I suspect the tree canopy would be a response from most. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak?
Just to follow on from Councillor Brooker, yes, it is going out to consultation, so we invite everyone to make your submissions because now is the time to talk about it. These things, once they're in as a regulation or as a strategy, it's too late, but now is the time to move the ship just slightly either way. We note that Lockie Capel and David Keep, two of our esteemed arborists, have been big lifters in this, and they come from a point of view of really trying to protect trees but also give them extra life. If we can get an extra 20 or 30 years out of significant trees we have here now, it's a great win for us, and it's a great win for the Shire in terms of tree canopy, in terms of having time to plant something that will replace it, and also just people love their trees. So if we could have got to some of the trees around the place which are now starting to fall over 10 years ago and put some of the suggestions that will come through this process in place, they would still be here and adding to the look and feel of the place. It also gives residents, if it moves forward, as does our road management strategy, etc. It gives you a place where you can go and look up what can I expect from council. So they're putting up something that they're prepared to be held to, and that I'm sure people will want to hold council to. So I think it's a great piece of work. It's definitely proactive. It's definitely got a mixture of penalties, how we're going to move forward and how we're going to look after those assets that we do have and we do value. So I'm looking forward to listening to people's opinions on it. Again, I think it's a step in the right direction. Can it be adjusted? I'm sure there's people out there who will have great insights into this and will make us aware of it. We'll take it back and this will be an ongoing conversation, but I think this is a great start. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors? I'd like to shout this one from the treetops, actually, pun intended. I'm thrilled with the work that officers have done on it. The policy aligns directly with, as councillors have said, it aligns directly with the urban tree canopy and biodiversity strategies. It consolidates existing documents into a single clear direction, strengthening alignment with council's long-term strategies, and embeds a proactive approach to tree retention, risk management and canopy expansion. It introduces a framework that balances community safety and the environmental, social and economic benefits that trees provide. The policy shifts council's approach toward a avoid, minimise, offset hierarchy, prioritising keeping trees wherever possible and ensuring removal is the last resort. It embeds a quantified tree risk assessment and defines service levels, ensuring decisions are evidence-based, consistent, focused on public safety and efficient resource allocation. It represents a significant evolution in how we value and protect our trees. It puts the retention of trees first and the removal as a last resort. So thank you to Heath, David, Lachlan and the team for making this happen. David phrased this policy to me as this gives the trees a voice, and I love that. I look forward to hearing from the community on what they think about it too. Thank you. So I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the Diamond Creek Major Activity Centre Planning Scheme Amendment, C144 nil panel report and decision. Can I have Councillor move that? Thank you, Councillor Brooker. As per the papers?
I move the motion. I don't know, and not as per the papers.
No.
I move this particular motion, and because it's up there, I'll read it out. The motion is that Council 1 considers C144 nil panel report and recommendations in accordance with Section 27 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987. 2, adopts the planning scheme amendment C144 nil with no changes to the amendment as exhibited. I think that should be 3, authorises officers to submit the planning scheme amendment C144 nil to the Minister for Planning for approval pursuant to Section 36 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second the motion? Councillor Joy. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
Yes, I would. Look, this amendment, or now substantive motion, seeks to reinsert the notification and review rights that are removed if the applicant meets the deems to comply provisions that impact C44 under the planning panel, what they sought to do. So in short, the motion is to retain notice and review provisions in the schedule to the activity centre zone. One of my arguments for this retention of notification rights is the planning process itself. By allowing them, not always, but frequently, leads to better planning outcomes. The phrase, I never actually considered that, where minor adjustments can make real differences to the whole, and the whole development, what they could add, what that could interact with neighbours, new users, whoever, is a frequent symptom, I think, of our planning scheme. I would also argue that planning applications, having the fact that they have to be exhibited and potentially critiqued by the public, can result in better design outcomes. That is the normative effect of knowing your application will be critiqued, makes you more thoughtful, makes you more considered in your application. That, to my mind, is a good thing. Inherent in my thinking is that the process needs not necessarily adversarial. My position is that by exempting applications from notification and review rights, that erodes public trust in the planning system. And if decisions are made and seen to be made, and people believe they're made behind closed doors or without any chance to influence them, you do not have an engaged community. When you're excluded altogether, you do get resentment and suspicions about the nature of the whole thing. Dot point 8 describes how the Minister seeks to retain the existing exemptions, and I reject that approach. I would also say that under C44, the main point is that there's a whole campaign around that is out there against development, and that's because people have been excluded from the process. Diamond Creek is not a generic growth zone. Our activity centres are not in the 60 suburbs identified for between 6 and 20-storey buildings by the state government that has attracted a lot of media coverage. Nonetheless, the expansion of housing in Nillumbik via the activity centres in Eltham and Diamond Creek to meet the 6,500 housing target Nillumbik have been given, we really need to see site-specific content, planning outcomes that are not only technically compliant via a tick-the-box checking process, but that the government favours, but also take into account those issues of bulk visual form, overshadowing, traffic, car parking, treescapes, all those nuances and subtleties that planners have to deal with in normal applications. Is all of this, I think the criticism is just a constraint on development. It's typical, self-serving stuff from people who are already there. Well, I not one bit do I agree with that. I do like the phrase "THIMBY," thoughtfully in my backyard. I think that should be the mantra for the Nillumbik standard. I believe it's not a constraint, but by all definitions, a better, superior, more robust way of dealing with different objectives in an even-handed way. How likely is this motion to succeed? Well, we won't know unless we try, and that is the purpose of the amendment. The final step of incorporation into the planning scheme puts a full stop to a process that began on my last term on council with the Diamond Creek structure plan. So this is a long road to this point. I think if we take this final step to reinsert notification and review rights that is consistent with our practices in Nillumbik, it's consistent to my view of a better planning system with better design outcomes, not just for, I think, the residents of Diamond Creek, but for applicants as well. It has a plus side for them to be involved in in that type of way with the planning system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Councillor Joy, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Well put, Councillor Brooker. For clarity and for those following along at home, what this amendment that we've put forward, it's essentially option 2 at point 58 in the report, and the astute observer will note that point 59 highlights that it's not the recommended approach based on independent panel member assessment and the officer's recommendation. However, my position on this is that even though it's likely that it may be a fruitless amendment, it's important for us to stand up for what we believe to be the most beneficial approach, which is that we retain these rights for review. So we'll put it to the Minister and the Minister can make a decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to comment? Councillor Demerick?
Just a quick comment, and it's probably a little bit obtuse, but I'll go with it anyway. We've got some glaring examples of what happens when centralised planning just does things as a tick of a box in Nillumbik. And it's if we look at Ryan's Road and Progress Road, which are just two straight lines on a map and look like they make perfect sense, they do until you try and drive up them. And this is the point when you're dealing with smaller communities in with things like creeks and railway lines and steep topography. On a map, it looks like, yeah, sure, we could build there, but when you actually go to do it, you need the local knowledge to be able to be involved in it. It's not always the knowledge held by developers. It's not always the knowledge held by people who are ticking and flicking from the centre of town. So I will be voting with Councillor Brooker on this one, that I think it is important that we keep pushing back against the idea that local planning can be taken away and somehow be done better from 30 or 40 k's away with someone who's never seen the site. So again, I don't hold a lot of hope, but I think it's an important stand to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Perkins.
Thank you. Look, this is my ward, Diamond Creek Activity Centre, and it's a difficult one. I can see where Councillor Brooker's coming from. I'm not going to argue against Councillor Brooker's stance. It's a courageous stance. Let's put it that way. I remember that was said quite often on Yes Minister when politicians would do silly things. But, you know, it's courageous, it's principled, it's okay, but the reality is it's fruitless, it's flogging a dead horse. What the government has done, or the Minister for Planning, of course, has done is allowed us to put our planning scheme amendment to public consultation. We got some feedback, we got some objections that triggered a planning panel. The major objection that was heard at the planning panel was the concern around council trying to bring back in something the state government had already got rid of, and that's the right to the exemption to be heard in terms of development in the activity centre under this activity centre zone. We're sort of trying to change state policy, and it's not going to happen. The Minister has appointed a planning panel, his planning panel. The planning panel has given him the advice. It's consistent with his own policy. And of course, as it's happened all the time in the past, every time since, even with the Eltham Activity Centre, the Minister will support his own policy and of course take on the recommendation of his own planning panel. So we're not going to be able to get review rights back in as we would like to, but I support Councillor Brooker's move in this regard to push back, and Councillor Drumack talks about pushing back. Okay, it doesn't hurt to push back, but I think we are flogging a dead horse. But, you know, the broader issue of the amendment, it's needed. I was up in Canberra last year, and one of the planners up there was talking about councils that just try for absolutely zero growth in their activity centres and throughout the municipality, and they just get run over the top of by the state government. You know, you've got to be involved in the conversation, or growth will happen without any input at all. So we're doing our best in terms of trying to manage growth by having an activity centre zone in Diamond Creek that does allow for some growth but tries to manage it as best we can. If people want to go above the heights or outside of the provisions that's in this planning scheme amendment, yeah, there is certainly appeal rights in that. But if they play within the rules of that planning document, there are no appeal rights. But we're saying in this slight change that Councillor Brooke has put up to the officer recommendation, that no, look, we really do want the population to have a say. For all development in activity centres. It was tried at Eltham, it failed. Their officer's advice is this will fail as well, but we're having a crack. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour?
No, I support you. Okay. Just for the avoidance of doubt, Councillor Brooker, I support you.
Thank you. No right of reply.
I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the pre-election commitments, communications protocols. Can I have council move this motion, please?
Thank you. I move that council endorses the pre-election communication protocols as for attachment 1. Request that a copy of the pre-election communication protocols be provided to all known candidates, and request that a copy of the pre-election communication protocols be uploaded to council's website.
Thank you. Can I have councillor second the motion, please? Councillor Brooker? Councillor Perkins, would you like to speak?
Look, basically what these protocols try to do is, you know, election after election, whether it be state or federal election, council does try to support candidates who are making valuable and viable election commitments that will benefit the community of Nillumbik. And council is time and time again accused of being biased towards one party or another. So what council's done is put some rules down on paper, so it's open and transparent, and they're the rules by which we'll follow, and that's what we call the pre-election commitments communication protocols, just to give every candidate you know, a fair and transparent process, that this is how we're going to handle it. We're not favouring, you know, one party or another. It doesn't really matter what the political leaning of individual councillors are, or the leaning of a council group as a whole. It's an open and transparent way to deal with candidates seeking election at state or federal level. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, I think that's right. I mean, we have some protocols now in the white-hot heat of an election campaign. Often all sorts of unpredictable things happen. By having the protocols here, we will be able to have a reference point when they do. It's not if they do, but when they do. I think the point is that candidates do have a opportunity to have the mayor involved in, if they're wanting to make an announcement, or the deputy mayor, and provide that kind of backup to their particular promises, provided they're within the scope of our documents. And I'd refer all the candidates to our election priorities and our election 2026 state government. I think it's document now on our website, and we've got hard copies as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to speak? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the Grey Sharps Road Open Space Project. Can I have a council move the motion, please? Councillor Perkins.
Thank you. I'll move that Council endorses a revised scope for Grey Sharps Road Open Space Project, incorporating open space improvements, netball courts, and car parking. And 2, commits to providing the additional funding required to complete the project based on the revised project scope, as per the funding scenarios outlined in this report.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second the motion?
Thank you. I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Perkins, would you like to speak?
Yeah, so basically what this motion does and what the report speaks to is this council's commitment to get on with this project and deliver what was promised some years ago when the funding was received. There was some confusion around whether or not the netball courts were in the scope of the original project in terms of whether the GSF funding supported the netball courts. In my mind and from the documents I've seen, it was definitely in scope. The community expected to see the netball courts as part of this project. Because of the delays, I think there have been some increases in cost, and the project budget has blown out a bit. So we're looking at ways to fully fund the project. That may or may not include additional grant funding. At the end of the day, council might have to put its hand in its pocket. I'm committed to delivering the project as was promised some years ago, and it's totally unrelated, but when I was mayor, I made the announcements that actually promised netball courts and the car parking, so all these elements. So I'm not turning away from that. I'm not turning away from the commitment of the council of the day. It is important that commitments are followed through. And even if there's an extended period where we don't believe a lot has happened, it's time to get on with it, complete this project and move on to the next one. And one of the next ones need to be replacing the pedestrian bridge that was washed away in floods in Eltham. So this motion potentially says that if we need to find more money, we're going to defer that project. That one, I can cop with it being deferred, but the community rightfully expects when natural disaster takes away some community or council infrastructure, that would be replaced. And if that needs to be replaced at a higher standard than was existing, so be it. Council has to wear it. It's happened time and time again. It happened, I know, for the Adventure Playground, Eltham North. It burnt down. We got $800,000 worth of insurance money, which would have probably built about half of it back, but we obviously need to put our hand in our pocket and at least get a like-for-like facility back on board. So things do cost more money. Insurance doesn't cover the whole lot. I'm supportive of, replacing that bridge if we can't get state government money for it. I'm hoping Councillor Jeremy is happy to defer for another year that bridge. But, worst case scenario, that's where some council funding would come from if we can't get these other grant monies. So, yeah, just want to reiterate, very supportive of the netball courts. The netball courts in Hurstbridge are dire. What sort of exists here at the moment used to belong to the old State School, Hurstbridge State School, I think it was. Yep. Part of that facility in the community hub is what was the library. So the netball courts will go back onto that site, be a proper playing service. You know, over time there might also be some improvements to making that an all-weather facility that's probably a bit further down the track. But certainly committing to do what we have already committed to do is not a hard one for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I will echo Councillor Perkins' statement of what he said. So in the officer report here, it gives us 3 options moving forward for funding. So scenario 1 is that we have the money we got from Growing Suburbs Fund, which is no longer available going forward to future projects. So we have that $2 million. Council had a contribution of $925, and that we apply for a local sports and infrastructure fund to cover the whole scope as it was originally intended, including a netball court. So that's scenario 1, and that's the best case scenario in this situation. There are 2 other scenarios where Growing Suburbs will not permit the co-funding of this project, and then LSAF could fund the netball courts, and Growing Suburbs and Council could do the open space and car park, which would be slightly more expensive. And then the third scenario, which is the least preferred scenario, is that the local sports and infrastructure grant application was unsuccessful. So this project was announced and promised over 6 years ago, and the longer this goes on and the more expensive it gets, the less confidence the community has in us and the project. And the amount of time and energy discussing, designing, consulting, debating, I don't think we can put this off any further. We're going to try to maximise the funding, like I said, through the local sports and infrastructure grant, and this is the best possible outcome. But if we don't get the additional funding, we need to build this anyway. It will be a great community asset. The current courts are unusable. I think we just need to commit to this and get on with it.
Thank you, Councillor Mackay. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Brooker? Thank you.
This is one of those items where councillors, I think, really are squeezed. I would challenge anyone to read this report and say this meets any kind of bar for governance or probity. This project has had many stops, many starts, many clarifications, and unfortunately very many delays. I am, to be clear, completely support scenario 1 for scope and funding. That is the netball courts, the car park, the open space. Of those 3 projects, I would prioritise the netball courts for reasons I think that have been spoken about. However, I challenge scenarios 2 and 3. Both require additional council funding beyond what the budget we passed just an hour ago contains. I believe the best option of getting option 1 approved is by making it the only option. Now, there could be some disagreement about that. If option 1 is rejected, well, then we come back to this chamber in a month, 2 months. People have been talking about 2020. It was actually 2019 when the Growing Suburbs Fund was first made. So I think we can wait some more time to do it again. So what the report is saying is that the funding mechanism for 2 and 3 will be taking money from another capital expenditure project in the budget. Well, you know, from a personal perspective then, if you're supporting this, you cannot be supporting the Alistair Knox Bridge because that is where the money is coming from. That is how peculiar this whole paper is. I don't believe it passes any kind of probity test or let alone a barbecue one. I would say it is not the example that we're talking about. Taking from other areas of the budget and deferring those projects is not a good process. Staging the project through, yes, another budget cycle is something where we can deliver the whole 3 elements of the project. It would just take longer. And for the people that say Hurstbridge have waited long enough, I think I agree they have waited long enough. But we have to have a a defensible project moving forward where we've got identified funding pools, whether it be borrowing or something else. But what we've got here is we're taking it from another project. That is not correct. That is not the way to get the Hurstbridge open space project funded and delivered.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Joy?
Yes, I'm with Councillor Brooker on this one. Quality open space is essential and it's something we should absolutely support. I myself regularly cycle to Hurstbridge along the Diamond Creek Trail. I thoroughly enjoy their bakeries. They're much better than Dymo's. However, what is before us tonight is not a clear, well-defined proposal. From a governance perspective, this raises serious questions. Good governance requires clarity, transparency and accountability. It requires us as decision makers to fully understand the financial implications of what we are endorsing. In this case, we are being asked to support a project where the scope continues to shift, the scenarios remain unresolved and the funding model is neither fixed nor sufficiently certain. This is not prudent decision making. Endorsing such a report effectively gives the green light to uncertainty. It signals that we are comfortable proceeding without firm funding guarantees and without a clear understanding of the final financial burden. This is not reasonable or responsible. We must also consider precedent. If we accept a project at this level of ambiguity, what message does that send for our future proposals? We risk normalising a standard where incomplete financial planning and unclear commitments are considered acceptable. Our role is not to approve projects in principle and hope that the details are resolved later. Our role is to ensure that when we make decisions, they are informed, transparent and defensible. At a minimum, we should be seeking a clearly defined and agreed project scope, confirmed funding contributions from all relevant parties, a detailed and realistic cost estimate, and transparent identification of all financial risks to Council. Without these elements, we are not in a position to responsibly endorse this project. Again, I emphasise this is not about opposing the benefits to the open space or the project in itself at all or in any elements of its scope. It is about ensuring that when we invest in our community, we do so in a way that reflects sound governance and protects the interests of our residents. At this stage, I do not believe that threshold has been met. If things are still uncertain, fine, but then it needs to be an iterative process, not bringing it into the chamber, asking for us to sign a blank cheque. For these reasons, I cannot support the recommendation as presented.
Would any other councillors like to speak? I'd like to say that this project is obviously in my patch. It's a project that's been a long-standing commitment. It's something that the community was promised 6 years ago. They are wanting and in need of it desperately. So I'd like to acknowledge that what we're seeing...
The Chair is entering into debate.
I'm allowed to speak to the item. Thanks, Councillor Joy.
I believe the governance rules say that the Chair must not enter into the debate. They need to change seats.
Sorry, through the Chair, if I may.
Yes.
The Chair does have the ability to actually have a 3-minute position on the actual motion. If it does enter in a debate, she's spoken last in the order of all of the councillors, and there will be a right of reply to the mover of the motion as well. So I don't believe that that is a debate per se.
I stand corrected.
Thank you. So I acknowledge that what we're seeing here is a genuine effort to bring it back in line with the original vision people were promised. That includes not just open space, but the netball courts and the car parking that make the precinct function as a whole. As mentioned, it's a long-standing commitment. The original total amount of the commitment was $2.93 million, and now it's estimated at $3.34 million. Unfortunately, due to cost increases due to the delay in primarily the wait for the cultural heritage management plans and, of course, then the escalation over time, there wasn't enough funding to deliver the full scope without changes or extra money. I want to acknowledge the work officers have done in presenting clear funding scenarios to make this project happen. This project also aligns strongly with our council plan, supporting participation in sport and recreation, and it acknowledges that our community has access to well-planned, inclusive facilities. It's important that council moves forward and implements projects that they promise the community. Issues happen along the way with projects, but I commend the officers on all the work they've done over the last few months to find a way forward for this project to happen and be finally delivered. So thank you so much to the Chief Operating Officer, Derek Rotter, and the Manager for Sport and Rec, Stuart Burchard. Thank you so much. I'll pass to Councillor Perkins for a right of reply.
Yeah, thank you. When I realised I was going to get the right reply, I had my pen poised and I was ready to write things down. I listened intensely to Councillor Brooker, and whilst I understand his position, I made no notes. Sorry. Councillor Joy, however, flabbergasted. Hurstbridge bakeries are better than Dymo's. Couldn't believe it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how often you go to Dymo. Baker's Delight, Hot Pies and Pork Roll Bakery, Mockers in the Plaza, Ogana Japanese Cafe, just to name a few. I strongly refute that assertion that Hurstbridge bakeries are better than Dymo's. They certainly are not. We have more and ours are better. Thank you.
We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Mackay, Councillor Cope, Councillor Perkins, Councillor Joyner. That motion is carried, or I'll do against. Councillor Brooker, Councillor Joy, Councillor Demarik. The motion is passed. Thank you. Moving on to the Hurstbridge Dog Park upgrade, amendments to final design. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Perkins.
I move that Council notes the proposed changes to the Hurstbridge Dog Park final design and also endorses a revised final design, attachment 1, for the purpose of appointing a contractor to deliver the works.
Can I have a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Brooker?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Perkins, would you like to speak?
Yes, this is a really motion I'm moving on behalf of the Mayor, whose ward this is. This actually reduces the scope and potentially the cost of the dog park in Hurstbridge. This is not something I would ever have considered in my ward. But this is as a result of community feedback. And community feedback want less, in this case in Hurstbridge. And it was put to me that less is more. And I was forced to say, well, in Diamond Creek, more is more. And I can't imagine downsizing the scope of anything in Diamond Creek on the basis of community consultation or anything else, to be honest. But anyway, the Mayor's supportive of this, and what it does do is give the people who made submissions, I think effectively what they want, which is not overdeveloping the southern area. They had concerns around the location of the passive dog area with the decreased size of that zone. They had concerns around the location of the agility equipment in Zone 1. So as a result of the feedback received, the following amendments have been made. These components have been removed, including sealed paths, dog-friendly planting and activity area, 1 of 2 bench seats and relocated entry-exit point. They've relocated the passive dog area into Zone 1 to retain the large open space of Zone 2, relocated the external entry-exit point, passive dog area to the eastern side of the dog park, added a sealed path along the eastern boundary, improving access to the passive dog area in Zone 2, and relocated the agility equipment to the opposite side of Zone 1. So, look, I think in being faithful and respectful of community consultation, it's absolutely the right way to go. And good on you, Mayor Joyner, for being true to that. Yes, I'll move the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
Thank you. Yes. I would say this is one of those examples where need which isn't all too infrequently put forward as a justification, is being used. I mean, the needs of the Hurstbridge Dog Park users were not such that they had a position of what was needed, not merely what was available. And all power to them for that, and all power, to the Mayor for, championing this process. And I hope it gets the recognition it ought to when you're using need as your argument for CapEx projects. But, Councillor Perkins has talked about where it's been changed, sealed paths removed, and that type of thing. Other elements have been added. I think the eastern boundary has got now a sealed path. And it does, in the project, the officer paper, flag savings and dot point 23. But that is where we're at. I endorse the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors like to speak? Well, I will take my 3 minutes to speak to this item. This project is coming back to Council in response to community feedback, which I think shows we are listening and refining the design to meet what the community want. They are the ones at the dog park each and every day. This money should be enhancing the dog park, not hindering. We've seen a few mishits with some dog parks of late, so taking that into account, we wanted to get Hurstbridge right. The newer fenced area of Zone 2 is a dog's paradise. It's a beautifully grassed area that dogs can run around on to their heart's content and no concerns on being injured, and a passive dog area that's increased in size from the original version. Something that was abundantly clear in the feedback, though, was keeping the natural Hurstbridge feel. It was so important. So I think modestly improving these dog parks with shelters, seating and lighting, whilst not filling it up with unnecessary items, is a great outcome. I know the Hurstbridge Dog Park users will be very happy. So I'll be supporting this motion, progressing with a design that better reflects community expectations. I'll now put it to a vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Can I have Councillor move the motion, please?
Yes, thank you. I'll move that motion as per the papers. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Joy. Councillor McKay, would you like to speak?
Yes, I'll speak on this again because I pretty much speak on this every month. So this is something that we need to pass to ensure that business as usual can take place here at the council. So the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation enables council staff to exercise powers so that they can do the job they need to do as authorised officers under legislation of local laws. So this list is prone to changing every now and then, with people changing jobs and employment and etc. And this is the new updated list to endorse. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Joy, would you like to speak? Any other councillors like to speak? I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Moving on to the contract 2324-022, Hurstbridge Men's Shed Variation Report. Can I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Brooker.
Actually read this one out because it's a slightly unusual one. The council authorises the chief executive officer or delegate to approve an increase to the contract purchase order amount by redacted exclusive of GST for contract 2324-022 Hurstbridge Men's Shed Construction. 2, makes public the decision regarding this contract variation, but that attachment 1, variation to contract 2324-022 Hurstbridge Men's Shed remains confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in section 31G of the Local Government Act 2020.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Coe?
Mayor, please. Motion recommendation.
Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
Yes, this is somewhat performative. This is a variation for a project that has now been completed. And the report, I think, highlights the fact that there are some real strengths of some council processes here in bringing this variation back. It's a fully transparent way of informing the community what has happened in terms of the costs for this project. I think it does have some shortcomings in other areas. When I refer to shortcomings, I include councillors in that mix. The December 23rd resolution specified that any variation in costs that exceed the original approved contract and contingency would be required to be presented back to council. That's the good bit. The original $989,000 plus $148,000 contingency is being reported back this evening. The total budget of $1.427763 includes, as can be seen, $100,000 from Bendigo Community Bank. The 5 banks under the umbrella of Diamond Valley Financial Services, Diamond Creek, Eltham, Hurstbridge, Doreen Mernda and Kinglake. Bendigo Bank stepping in like this, not for the first time, but I think to the degree of over $10 million over the last 25 years of local banking, we really appreciate their support of the project. This project does date back to my first time on council, and that's 2020. So the results the community have been waiting patiently for are now here. So we have had a lot of transparency around the public reporting of the projects. The report, to a limited degree, talks to scope changes in dot point 7, and council have addressed that in the sense that we have reporting protocols now that will result in variations being reported to council more in real time than at the end of a project, which is the case here. So I think that may be the end of a busy night for Hurstbridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Councillor Coate, would you like to speak? Would any other councillors like to speak? I'd just like to say that the Victorian Government, through their Growing Suburbs Fund, put in $364,532 on this, and along with Bendigo Bank, who were instrumental in getting this project up, $100,000. So we were there today for the official opening. The Shedders were so excited. They've been functioning out of this tiny little room, small storage room at the Hurstbridge Basketball Stadium for the last 10 years or so. So yes, this project again is a long time coming for them, 7 years in the making, and it's a beautiful space, and it's also future-proof by putting a lift in there for accessibility and all the bells and whistles that it needs. So it's a great facility, and Hurstbridge is very proud of it. So good luck to the Shedders. Thank you. I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Moving on to the tender report. Oh, sure. Okay. Is that myself? No. Councillor Brooker, would you like to?
Okay, this is the variation that council authorises the CEO or delegate to approve an increase to the contract purchase order amount by $141,871, exclusive of GST, for contract 2324-022 Hurstbridge Men's Shed Construction. 2, makes public the decision regarding this contract variation, but that attachment 1, variation to contract 2324-022 Hurstbridge Men's Shed, remains confidential on the grounds specified in the definition of confidential information in section 31G of the Local Government Act 2020. I don't think anyone's remarked that this project goes back so many years when it was the Hurstbridge Men's Shed, which was the group that we got that initial funding for from the state government. So it is now the Hurstbridge Community Shed. So that point needs to be made loud and clear. It is for the entire community of Hurstbridge to have this space. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to the tender report for the Diamond Creek Men's Shed redevelopment construction. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Perkins, and a seconder? Oh, sorry,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Perkins.
I'll move the motion as per the papers.
Okay, and a seconder? Councillor Perkins, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, so this motion is all about the Diamond Creek Men's Shed, and I, being a lover of local history, perhaps not as much as at least 50% of our gallery, perhaps even 100% of our gallery, but I think we all love history. And I just want to just spend a moment or two to talk about the Diamond Creek Men's Shed. So there was a gentleman in Diamond Creek by the name of Lee Marshall, and he came up with the idea to start a men's shed in Diamond Creek at around 2010. He and his wife, Kathy, walked the streets dropping pamphlets in letterboxes. He also approached the Diamond Valley Lions, who were putting on a sausage sizzle at the local Mitre 10 store. They obviously liked the idea, and they presented Lee with a $2,000 cheque to get the first Diamond Creek Men's Shed started. At the first meeting on the 27th of October 2010, a small clutch of interested parties came together over sandwiches and beer at the Alice Cottage barn. Subsequent meetings were held at the barn, also the home of Lee and Katie Marshall. John Graham, at the time, was part of the ministry team at the Diamond Valley Baptist Church, and he generously offered the use of an empty shed and the grounds of the church free of charge. John is one of the honorary members of the Diamond Creek Men's Shed, and that's in recognition for providing them with their first home, and continues to turn up to all their special events. In December the next year, 2011, a public forum was held at the hall at St John's Anglican Church in Diamond Creek. The purpose of the meeting was to gauge community support for a men's shed. Response was overwhelming. There were 69 adults and 4 children braving the elements to attend. Of those present, 32 expressed an interest in joining the Diamond Creek Men's Shed. A working bee followed at the Diamond Valley Baptist Church shed that included digging a trench to connect the power, and 25 men sitting down for a Christmas lunch on the 21st of December. The men's shed quickly outgrew the limited space available at the Baptist Church. It became apparent in 2012, and this is when I remember first being involved in the Diamond Creek Men's Shed, because I helped them get the Girl Guides Hall. So there's a Girl Guides Hall at 53 Challenger Street, and it was no longer in use. Diamond Creek Men's Shed approached Nillumbik Shire Council with a view to making this their new home. Council was receptive. I particularly was very receptive to their approach, and by mid-2012 agreed to take them on as tenants. By virtue of many working bees, internal and external painting, and the addition of a wheelchair ramp, that became the new premises, and they operated in there from October 2012. There's been a lot that has happened since. There's been some expansions, there's been some state government funding. There's been Lee Marshall, who was the founding president. He moved on probably 6 or 7 years ago, and essentially Graham Newman's been the president for most of that time since. These guys are a fantastic group. They've done fantastic work, continue to do. This tender will award them a brand new shed, really by virtue of the help of, I believe, of Rob Mitchell, our federal MP, and the state and the federal government, who have tipped in nearly $1 million. We'll get to see if this motion gets through what the value of this contract is, but just keep in mind that $956,000 of this money comes from our current federal government, and thanks particularly to Rob Mitchell, the federal member for McEwen, who is also, I think he's the parliamentary secretary for the Friends of Men's Shed in Canberra, or something like that, sort of thing. But he certainly does have a very keen interest in Men's Shed across the nation, and certainly across his electorate, and has really helped kick this one on. So, you know, it's great to award this tender. Graham Newman in recent years has done a power of work working with officers and working with politicians trying to get secure this grant funding. Council, of course, has come to the party, but the major funder has been the federal government this time through their Thriving Suburbs grant. Really, it was an election commitment of Rob Mitchell's. He's come through. It's a fantastic outcome. I'm sure this motion will get support, but it's just great that this men's shed that's gone from strength to strength. They're not really expanding the area of their shed where they do woodwork and metalwork and other work. They're really expanding their social area, and this men's shed, it's not all about building things and carpentry and woodwork and metalwork. It's about getting together, and it's about supporting each other through their everyday needs. Quite often, it's mental health that I think that men's sheds across the nation support men with the best, and these are a great bunch of people. They've got a band there. They're called OCDC, and that stands for Old Codgers Diamond Creek. And they're a fantastic band. They're great to hear. They're going from strength to strength. So look, it's a really, really good organisation. Please, if anyone wants to get involved, it's just going from strength to strength. More power to you. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perkins. Councillor Jory, are you speaking to the motion? Any other councillors like to speak? We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Perkins, would you like to...
Yes, I will read the result, which is that Council accepts the tender submitted by Slim Built Proprietary Limited for the sum of, just trying to find it, for the sum of $1,372,135 with a 20% contingency, which is $274,427. So it's a total of about $1.5 million, 2/3 of that coming from the federal government. Thank you. There it is. I think I was close. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to the tender report for the annual supply contract provision of fencing services. Can I have a mover of the motion, please?
Thank you. I'll move that as per the papers, please, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Brooker? Yes. Thank you. Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, this includes 3 tenderers because we need a variety of expertise with different types of fencing and different options for different days and availability. So pleasingly, they all have a strong connection to Nillumbik, of some companies operating from Nillumbik and others having multiple staff members living in Nillumbik. So great to be supporting local as well.
Great. Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak? Any other councillors like to speak? We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor Mackay, would you like to announce?
Yes. Yes. Resolve that Council accept the tenders submitted by KA Fencing Proprietary Limited, Webster Contractor Proprietary Limited and Civifence Proprietary Limited for their comparative tender cost disclosed in attachment 1, which were, oh, these will all be, this, okay, that's all right, as per the papers. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the tender report for Susan Street Oval irrigation and drainage upgrade. Can I have a mover for the motion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to move the motion as per the papers.
Thank you. And a seconder?
Thank you. I'll second that. Please,
Okay.
Mayor.
Councillor Demarick, would you like to speak?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. This is great news and it's fairly timely given that the contract starts on the 6th of July 2026. So hopefully they've already made some preparations if this is to go, because they will be in less than a week's time. This is an important piece, and we thank the contractors for their applications. It goes a long way to solving some of the problems that we do have on the Susan Street Oval or the duck feeding area. If you see it sometimes, this year fortunately has been a very dry year, but in our wet years can get very wet very quickly and is one of the ones we close very, very early on. Much to the disappointment of our rugby club and junior footballers. It's the home for the Eltham Junior Football Club and heavily used by the Eltham Rugby Club, and in summer, most days of the week, you'll see cricketers enjoying it. I do note that part of the funding for this is from the Australian Cricket Infrastructure Fund. They've been putting $40,000 towards it, and council is picking up the rest of the tab. It's been a long time coming. It is sort of down on one of our natural river flats, which is where ovals were put. As a consequence, they tend to be quite boggy. So some irrigation and some drainage will be good, and we're looking forward to it starting and finishing around November, the end of November this year, and then a 6-week layoff. So it's going to be disruptive to the clubs, but the outcome should be good, and again we look forward to finding out who the tenderers are if this is passed. So I encourage all councillors to pass it. Thank you.
Councillor Mackay, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Any other councillors like to speak? We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Councillor DeMerick, would you like to announce?
I'd like to announce that we accept the tender submitted by Greenwater Australia for the sum of $387,188.98, plus a $77,437.80 contingency, as disclosed in attachment 1. And the contract number is 2526-051 for the Susan Street Oval irrigation and drainage upgrade, and the term is 6th of July 2026 to the 27th of November 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the informal meetings of councillors' records. Can I have a mover for the motion, please? Councillor Brooker. Okay. As per the papers?
Yes, as per the papers. As per the papers, Mayor.
And Councillor Perkins, would you like to second? Councillor Brooker, would you like to speak?
No.
Councillor Perkins? Any other councillors like to speak? We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Oh, we don't have any notices of motions tonight. Moving on to delegates' reports. Councillor Mackay, do you have a delegates' report?
I do, thank you. Just quickly, I believe some other councillors and I also, we got to attend Australian National Simultaneous Story Time at our local library. So I went down to Eltham Library, and National Simultaneous Storytime is one of Australia's most beloved annual reading events, and it brings together millions of children, families, libraries and schools and early childhood centres to share the same story at the same time right across Australia. So this was a very sweet sort of event to go to, and very nourishing. It's just a reminder of the essential role that libraries play in nurturing learning, connection and love of stories, and great effort there by the Eltham Library and the YPRL. Also, with Mayor Joyner and myself, attended the Biennial Youth Summit. So this was at the Eltham Community Reception Centre, and this was organised, prepared and run by our wonderful Youth Council, and it had been accumulating to this point, and I just wanted, and they're led by our Youth Mayor Talia and Deputy Mayor Gianna, and big thanks to our staff, Yasmin, Crystal, Francis and Nicola, for doing that. So the youth came together, they spoke about issues that were important and pertinent to them, such as youth gambling, loneliness, mental health, education, all that sort of stuff, and we're going to put together some ideas and see what we can do from a council point of view to support our youth, though based on direct feedback from them. And lastly, I'll just quickly mention that myself, Councillor Joyner and Councillor Perkins, along with the CEO and the CCIO, attended the National General Assembly last week from the Australian Local Government Association. So that was great. 2 of our motions got up in the large assembly, which one about the climate reporting and the second regarding supporting funding for greater deer controls. There was also just good to hear the shared experiences from other councils. Funding is a major issue, and we put towards a joint letter to get a 1% funding from the federal government to make sure that councils are sustainable and are able to keep on providing for the community. So, yeah, the meeting was great. Good to meet our counterparts. We met Her Excellency Sam Mostyn, the Governor-General, and we got to personally invite her to our upcoming Kangaroo Ground 100-year memorial celebration, which she was very interested in, considering the Governor-General of the day 100 years ago opened it. And we also had a meet and greet with the Prime Minister, the Honourable Anthony Albanese MP. So that was a fun thing to do. So that's my delegates report.
Thank you. Would any other councillors like to do a delegates report? Well, I'll quickly go into mine. Today I had the honour of course, as I mentioned earlier, of officially opening the Hurstbridge Community Shed. It's another project that's been a long time coming, and it was wonderful to see their expansive new space, which I have no doubt will be filled in no time, along with the all-important breakout area that supports mental health and wellbeing in these settings. Looking forward to visiting again in the near future to see what they've done with the place. I also had a recent visit to the Altham Men's Shed, where Bill and Leon showed me all that Altham Men's Shed has to offer. No doubt that Hurstbridge will similarly reflect the strength of its members and what they are doing in the men's mental health space, because their work is commendable and something to be celebrated. Our community sheds are a valuable and important asset, and we thank them for everything they do to support the Nillumbik community. I attended the MAV May State Council in Councillor Perkins' absence, and I'm happy to report that both our motions on roadside risk reduction and data-led road safety management and unified government action on climate reporting requirements for councils were both successful and were supported by the majority of the 79 councils in attendance. The Hurstbridge Football and Cricket Pavilion Energy Resilience Project community launch happened. This project is highly beneficial for the cricket, football and netball clubs who call this pavilion their home. Thanking the Victorian Government for the $304,000 through their 100 Neighbourhood Batteries program not only saves the Hurstbridge Sporting Club significant funds that they can now spend on their sporting communities instead of electricity costs, but it also provides Hurstbridge and the surrounding communities with a Community Sports Energy Resilience Centre, which is exciting to have in town. Having also attended the Business Support Roadshow in Hurstbridge was a bit of a treat as part of the Nillumbik Business Ignite series. The EcoDev team put together an amazing series of events with support from our wonderful friends at Community Bank. And the event in Hurstbridge features David Robertson, the Chief Economist at Bendigo Bank, as the keynote speaker, along with the Interim Victorian Small Business Commissioner, Tim Simons. He spoke with small businesses in the area who came along. As we have more than 6,300 small businesses supporting more than 16,700 local jobs, these events are really important, and the Economic Development team did a great job. That's all from me. Thank you. So we don't have any supplementary or urgent business, so we'll now close the meeting at 9. I will move a motion to go to confidential reports. Can I have a mover for that motion, please? Councillor Perkins? And a seconder?
I'll move that in accordance with section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020, Council resolves to close the meeting to members of the public to consider confidential items.
Thank you. Councillor Booker, would you like to second? Okay. Would you like to speak to the motion? No? Okay. We'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We'll now move to confidential.